Hello, and welcome to another episode of the SENDhelp podcast. And today I've got SENDhelp member Vicky, who's been a member for quite a while now, and been speaking on Facebook for a while as well. Actually, to be fair. So yeah, been around from the get go. Um, Vicky is a SEN mum, and I'm not gonna go into the rest of the story. I'll let her explain to it. So yeah, I'll let you hand over a bit about yourself, your kids, how you got involved, how you met me, and that. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. I'll hand over to Vicky.
Hiya. So hi Nate.
Mm.
Thanks for having me on.
All right.
So I'm mum of five, five children, three with high needs then, I would say, two
Mm.
that they're clearly on the spectrum, but they don't need that kind of like that support as such. They just
Mhm.
need a little bit of understanding. So yeah, they age my oldest is 19. He has autism, verbal dyspraxia, hypermobility, and a severe speech and language disorder. And then child number two, he's Connor. He's just typical 18-year-old boy at the
Mm.
moment, going out with his mates, the usual stuff. And then I've got Kalen, who is 12, nearly
Mm.
13. He's diagnosed with autism. He's now in a specialist school. He's on the pathway for diagnosis for ADHD as well, which we never saw when he was in mainstream school,
Mm.
strangely. And then I've got Libby. Libby's doing really well. She keeps me busy. She's like a cheer girl. She's cheer three days
Mm.
a week, hours on end, like this, that, and whatever. Football mad as well. So yeah, she
Mm.
keeps me on my toes. And then I've got little Graham, who's 6. Is he 6 or is he 7? He's 7.
Mm.
He's 7. He's not 6, he's 7.
Mm.
We fought for him for a long, long time, and in the end, I got fed up, so I went private for him,
Mm.
and he's got a diagnosis of autism, ADHD, ODD, PDA, and sensory processing disorder delay, sensory
Mm.
processing delay. So he's a very complex little bunny, and it's been
Mm.
very, very tough with him. So yeah, it's busy. It's a busy house,
Yes, I was about to say it sounds very busy. Yes.
very busy house. But yeah, it is what it is. We get there, we move on, and we kind of like we juggle through it, and we just
Yeah.
yeah, it's just the way it is. We accept what we've got, and we just
I
we
think
manage.
important. So you said like your oldest is like 20. Is it 1920?
1920, yeah.
Yeah, and then you've gone all the way down. So already, again, you said about mentioning about the pathway, having to go on the pathway for your
Yeah.
youngest, and compared to your oldest, like the difference I can even vouch for the difference in the ADHD diagnosis and autism diagnosis, all of that has changed significantly in the last 10 to 15 years, I think.
Yeah.
And I think I'd love to know what your, especially because you've gone through it multiple times through each time, like what you think it was. Do you reckon it's got better, worse?
It's got worse. I'll be honest, it has got worse. Although Jamie's diagnosis for autism took a long, long time.
Mhm.
So at 3, we kind of like 2.5, 3, we noticed once I'd had Connor and like his speech was coming in and Jamie's wasn't, it was like,
Mm.
oh, there's something wrong here. So we went to like a drop-in centre for speech and language. And they were like, yeah, we think he's definitely got speech problems. We do like a group in this community centre. If you go down to that, they can help you with that. And then while we were there, he wouldn't engage. He actually physically attacked me, to be fair. He
Mm.
kicked right off. And the ladies there, don't worry, like we're doing a referral to you for CDC. Don't put yourself through or him through the stress. Like we'll get that sorted for you. And it all kind of moved quite quickly. So at about 3.5, he was diagnosed with a severe speech and language disorder, verbal dyspraxia and hypermobility. And then they kind of kept him under the paediatrician until he was about 8 or 9 when he got his autism diagnosis because they needed to see his speech improve
Mhm.
to see if his difficulties with socialization and everything else was due to autism or the speech and language. Because of the verbal
Yeah.
dyspraxia diagnosis, it was quite difficult because all the movement in all of his
Mm.
joints made it quite difficult for that. So we kind of understood. And he was and it wasn't too long after he was diagnosed with autism. I mean, Kaelan must have been about 2. So Kaelan's 12. He was under the community peds from 2 due to speech and language as well. And he got discharged from them 3 times before I was like, enough's enough now. Like, I'm
Yeah.
done. And he started school. I waited until he got into reception. He was in preschool, then reception, and I went to the Senko. I went, look, can you please just do a referral to CDC to see the same paediatrician Jamie was under? And she goes, Dr. Renshaw. I said, she won't see you. I went, she will. She like We're the only ones in the area with that surname, so she would have seen the match. And plus, I used to take him in the carry cot to Jamie's appointment, so she knew who he was. So she saw him in the November when he was 5, and then he was diagnosed just before COVID,
Yeah.
2019. It was the December 2019 he was diagnosed, so it was really quite short. Luckily, we got. It must have been over after COVID. So it kind of went through COVID. So he got his first initial appointment in the January. We went lockdown in the March. We had an online appointment, speech and language, for him in the summer. And then she diagnosed him in the December. So we were really, really lucky, like super, super lucky. And then on the phone call, she's like, I'm really sorry, but he's the last child I'm going to diagnose. That's it. I'm retiring. And I was like, no, don't do this to me. I've got another child coming through. She's like, you know what you're doing. You've been here twice already. Just keep going. And then Graham, he got picked up by health visitors at 2. And because I said to them, I was like, I think we're looking at the same here. Like, Graham was quite delayed in quite a lot of areas. And again, it was just the same doctor. We can't put a label on these children because he just repeated the same thing I'd heard from him for the other 2 children. I was like, and the community peds, and it's just like, oh, this is ridiculous. And then they changed him. He retired, and I was like, oh, thank God. And then we got the same paediatrician he has now, and she knew the family history because she was Jamie's community paediatrician as well. So she kind of knew the history and
Yeah.
everything that was happening. But it just took ages and ages. Because she'd send me the forms, I'd fill the forms out, the school would fill the forms out, or the preschool fill the forms out. They didn't match. Then she'd ask for something from the teacher would write something, didn't match. And it was like, oh, well, it's going to be different to school to home. It always is. And then we hit year 1 and it all went downhill. It all went downhill drastically. He's put his teacher in a headlock and punched her in the face. Strangled one of the teachers. And when she went, can you let go? He squeezed harder. And this was like, it was becoming a daily occurrence. And we went back to the paediatrician and she's like, well, it doesn't really match still. He doesn't meet the criteria. And I was like, how can you say that? Like, here's the letter from the Senko. And she's like, well, why hasn't he brought this up sooner? And I was like, well, what do we do? So she resent the forms out. We got to December, not last year, the year before. And she went, this still doesn't quite meet the criteria. And I was like, this has been going on too long now. He's 6. So I paid private. In the end, I was like, I can't do it anymore. I have to go private. So I had a bit of compensation come through. My dad helped me with the rest. And it was about 2.5 grand for his diagnosis through a private provider. And he's just like, I can't believe that they didn't match. Because everything they had was like on the scale from the school,
Yeah.
he was at 96%, and the scale at home, he was at 98%. So they must have matched. It just didn't, yeah. It was
It's strange,
stressful.
isn't it? And I think it, as much as there's pros and cons of doing it in match settings, isn't it? I understand the principle of doing it in 2 settings, but if you're talking about now how much we know that kids mask and how much they can even suppress until they get home, it's kind of unfair now to put that
Yeah,
in a setting. And especially, I think it's unfair very much on kids that don't really have ADHD symptoms, it's more autism, that are maybe never going to tip that scale and never get that diagnosis where they
yes.
are very, very autistic at home. But because they can mask and kind of blend in the day, I suppose the behaviour in some ways does kind of help
Yeah,
or
it
hinder.
has.
Yeah, you can get
Yeah.
it gets you the attention, doesn't it? But then sometimes school can just go, all right, we're not doing it with it, and then straight out. But it's a
I
shame
mean,
you kind of have to fight these little fights, don't you? And it's almost like the one who screams the loudest kind of will get seen first, and
yeah,
it's yeah.
and that's what it's been. I've made my voice very clear. I mean, he's 7. He's now an alternative provision because he ended up getting put on like a report for bullying, and I was like, what? And I was like that, and then he got suspended the day after that, and I was like, that's it, I'm done. I'm done. Like, I do not want him in the classroom anymore. So he's in an alternative provision, and he is doing so well. He's calmed down loads, but I reckon if you actually counted up all of his suspensions for year 1 and year 2, I reckon he had near on 19.
That is nuts. Even hearing you say suspensions and following it by year 1 and 2 is crazy. Now, it's how what
Yeah,
the hell? How are you getting suspended in like it's not? I'm not saying like how you get suspended is in like how is he getting suspended that much? It's this common now, isn't it? That's
yeah,
very regular practice to suspend kids that
yeah.
age. And I don't see the purpose of it. So I don't see the goal, because if you're doing it for the multitude that you're saying, it's clearly not working. So
No.
the punishment and the discipline way of what you'd excuse it for is almost not relevant anymore. So it's almost hard that there's nothing left but you just saying, I say so. And it's just that I'm not going to bend to anything and you're just going to do what I say. And it's
Yeah.
almost what people miss going through that at that age. Fair enough. Even if you have an opinion about, oh yeah, but you can't do this in school, whatever, telling a kid or making a kid punish to that extreme length makes a kid think one thing about themselves, and that's caused by just a cause and effect, by them thinking they deserve these punishments and they deserve to be treated like this. And very early on they can get this, and it's not fair. And there's got to be a better way. There has to be a better way.
And he knew that if he acted out and done certain things, he could come home.
Absolutely, that's another way.
So
Because
it had the
yeah.
opposite effect. It had the opposite effect. He's like, "Oh, I'll just do that and I can go home." So some of it was behaviours, it was choice, and I do
Mm,
believe that some of
mm,
those behaviours were choice, but he used to get restrained quite a lot as well. Like, they used, is it teach term te oh, I can't remember what it is, but they used restraint on him pretty much nearly every single day, and he went into the alternative provision, and there was one day where he was restrained by the school staff, not the alternative provision staff, and then the alternative provision stepped in and like, "That's it, no more restraint." And since they stopped restraining him, he's calm. No suspensions, he's calm. He has his moments,
mm.
but that he's not physically attacking people to the extreme that he was. He's completing his work, he's happy, he's thriving. And it's like that kind of shows me that those practices aren't working because these ones
No.
are. And
So
it's
was that written up for him in school then to be supported, or was that just what they was doing in an emergency situation?
emergency situation because he could be quite violent.
Yeah, I still don't. Yeah, I don't agree, especially when it's just school staff doing it, because you don't know if you're doing it safely, or you don't know what you could do to harm, further antagonise it. And so I've worked in schools before when we've used it, and I lean towards more it's not necessary. You shouldn't use it unless you really have to. But again, in
Yeah.
emergency situations, there is no other choice. But it should
Yeah.
be always be used for the little amount of time. So as soon as you can get everyone else clear, or get them out of the way and let go, because I've never ever seen a long hold or a long restraint go anywhere but antagonise the person they're holding, and it's
I think
uncomfortable
it
for all of you.
I think it depends who it is as well, because I used to get called in and I'd have to restrain him myself.
Mm.
But for me, restraining him wasn't, I would like bring him in and like hold him
It's a hug,
tight and
yeah,
be
deep pressure sort of thing.
like,
Yeah.
just breathe, it's fine. Like, are you ready? No. Okay, we'll stay like this. Like, when are you ready? You ready? No. Okay. And then I'd be like, you ready? Be like, yeah, right. Hug, kiss, right, come on,
Mm.
let's clean up this mess and then we can go. And that would work, but they can't do that in school. That is, it's different and it's
Well,
not the same.
it shouldn't be though, should it? Because
No.
I don't know when it becomes so corporate, because I started getting this even through my working as I was working up to go be a registered manager. The language changed. So
Yeah.
you had to stop like being their friend. You had to stop saying them sort of stuff, stop with the hug, stop with and it's almost like that's become what we've got now is like not robot teachers, not all teachers I'm saying, but like robot
Yeah.
systems that are
Yeah.
working just on they're not individualizing the children at all. And it's because they're not even allowed. And even stuff like that is now seen as it's mad, because they're more likely to restrain dangerously than they are to try something like a deep pressure back hug, and that's insane because the risk difference is mad.
It's
Like,
huge, it's
yeah,
huge, and it's because there's so much red tape for them, and it
mm,
is like, you have to feel sorry for the teachers at this point, you know, because
yeah,
they all absolutely adore him. Whenever they see him, they're like, "Oh, Graham, we've missed you." You know, they absolutely adore him because he is a really sweet child. But you can see that they probably do just want to let's just give you a hug, you know,
mm,
and they know that he'll calm down, but they can't. They can't. They're not allowed to, and it's sad because they are only 7,
yeah,
like 6 and 7
yeah,
years old. They're still babies.
yeah,
And that is all that it takes, and it doesn't matter what weighted blanket you use, body sort, whatever you use, it's not the same.
yeah.
It's not the same than a good deep pressured hug,
Of
because
course,
that's what I do with him now. He came home from school, was it not yesterday, day before? He was heightened, but you could see that he had been working really hard all day. Like, he'd been had a really good day, and so I could see he was very up and down. I said to my husband when he come back from work, and I was like, he's a little bit up and down today, so just yeah. So he goes and sits in there, and he's like, "Get out, get out, get out!"
mm,
And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I've gone in there and I've led in the bed when he's snuggled in, right,
mm.
and given him a nice big hug because we sleep in the lounge, and he calmed down and he was fine. And that is all that it takes with him. It's just that little bit of
It's personalization as
yeah,
well, isn't it? Knowing
yeah,
it's crazy, and this is like kind of where the company come from my end as well, because I worked in a school, and it was very effective, and I've just seen year by year and workplace by workplace to get less and less away from even the teachings of all of that, and it just seems to
Yeah.
be. It's not. It's as I said, with the diagnosis and with the support, it seems like we're getting further away with the more knowledge we're meant to know, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So the
Yeah, yeah,
longer we're
yeah.
doing it, the more things we're getting wrong. And it's like, but it's almost like if I reverse my timeline of work, it seems like it gets better and better and better towards like the
Going
children
backwards.
and the adults that it was. And the closer I get, it's like, oh, it's just all corporate stuff. Like, I know some of that would be like with the job title and stuff, but I mean, like the way that you even had to speak to them, the way that you couldn't be friendly with them, you couldn't be, it was very restrictive. And again, it goes back to what you said about the red tape. And I think it's the
Yeah,
fear of doing anything wrong, which means you then not do anything in case you do it wrong. And it's almost like, I understand, but like it really takes personalization from it. It really does. And it's not
it
nice,
does.
like in that sense.
But then you go into like my middle boy's specialist school, like he's in an independent specialist provision, and they're amazing. Like they've got 2 or 3 therapy dogs in there, they animals, and you name it, they've got it. His biggest problem is so they'll tell him something, and he'll interpret it the way he wants to interpret it without actually understanding what they're saying. But they're really, really good at like, right, let's just go and calm down, and then we'll have the conversation again. And then for him, it's like, it's not fair. It's not fair. Prime example, yesterday, he likes to skip his lessons. So he's like, I ain't doing that. And off we go into the woods and climb trees. And it's like, no, you need to come back into the class. You need to complete your work. And they said to him, look, okay, if you're not going to go to your lesson and complete your work, you'll lose your golden time in the afternoon, because you'll have to complete your work in that golden time. And then if you still don't do it in that, you'll lose your Friday activities, and we'll have to sit down and do your work then. So go to your lessons, get your work done, and then you can have fun, basically. So he had a maths lesson. They done like a quiz. He got all the questions wrong. He saw it as, they made me then lose my golden time because I got the questions wrong and I had to redo it and blah. He saw it as that. But when I emailed his teacher, she's like, no, actually, he has got that. He's misunderstood what we were saying. He'd done the quiz the day before. We looked at the answers in the next lesson. We looked at how we can get them right. And then he had other things to complete. And I was like, right, okay. So he's taken the negatives, the positives, and turned them into negatives, but that's him. And it all stems from mainstream PTSD due to school trauma. And it's little things like the head teacher will go, Kaylin, if you're not going to your lesson, can you come to my office? And he sees that, I've got to go to the head's office, because that was a punishment in mainstream.
It still is
Whereas,
now. Yeah, I was gonna
yeah,
say, yeah, that is.
yes. Whereas there, it's not. There, it's come and sit in the office with me. I'll help you. So, and it's slowly changing that narrative for him. It's been hard. It's been really
I
hard.
mean, let's dive down because that is still a valid threat, isn't it? That they go to the head's office.
Hmm.
What are the heads doing to our children when they get to their office? Because if you're screaming at it, because I can't think they're going and speaking smoothly and going, oh, she shouldn't have done that. If you're going to the head's office, you're going for that kind of discipline. So we've just got head teachers out here just shouting at our kids. I
I
mean,
don't know. I
it's,
don't know.
it's hard, isn't it? Like that, it makes me worry because when I was in school, that's what happened. And
Yeah,
I'm
same for
now
me.
thinking, when or where have we moved away from that if that's still a valid threat? I don't think we would have. And it's something like the kids would be so used to it because it wouldn't be something to highlight. So they wouldn't know there's any different than a head to get shouted at.
Yeah, I don't think the head teacher of his mainstream school, because she's the head teacher of my other 2 children now, I can't see her ever have shouted at him. I
Mm,
can't see her ever of doing that to him. So I don't know where it comes from. Maybe he's heard her shout at other children
mm.
because
There's
they
probably some
needed
shouting
it.
teachers still. I guarantee it. Some of them are
Some
definitely,
of them need it. Some of
yeah.
them do need it. Let's be honest. Sometimes he needs a voice raise. Like, can you just stop?
Mhm.
Right now, you stopped. Now we can have a conversation. And he does need that. But I just can't. I can't see her ever of shouting at him. I just
Mm,
can't, because she's quite nurturing as a head teacher. To be fair, I've always had quite a lot of respect for her. Um, Not all of her staff, but for her,
mm.
yeah, I've always had a lot of respect for her. Like, she's always been quite open with me, which has been great. And we've always had quite a good
Well, that's what, yeah.
relationship, which is really, really positive. But yeah, I just don't know where he gets that from. No idea.
But that's what I'm saying. But it's even if you've got not, I said in your example, so maybe the teacher didn't shout. But the fear of going to the head is something that causes
Yeah.
anxiety, that causes something that's going to be stressful. You don't know the unknown, especially when you
Yeah.
tie autism, ADHD, all of that into it. You're panicking.
Yeah.
Your nervous system is on the edge. Like, do you know what I mean? So even just the threat and waiting outside and waiting for the thing and what they're going to say, and that is, it's torture. I don't think. I mean, do they? I hope to think they don't understand what it would be like for like a kid, especially like
They're not going for the cane like some they did years and years ago. You know what I mean? That's not happening.
no, but it's kind of It's weird, isn't it? That it seems like that used to be, and it's almost like that argument that people say is, well, when they're back in the day when they used to do discipline, they used to get on with it, and it's almost like there is no data to prove that because you don't know the trauma. People must be carrying that for their whole life. They just didn't get to speak about it. That's
Yeah,
the difference. They didn't get to say, "Oh, mum, hit me really hard. I'm sick of this," because their mum would have just done it as well. Like it was, you
yeah.
didn't. You're going on about like we had free speech like we do now. We had the social media. We could complain and make a movement and petition
No,
about. No, it just happens. You're never going to know how that affected children. And
no, you have to shut your mouth and get on with it.
that was it, and that's fear. That's nothing but fear. So if you're just used to directing fear and using that as a method now in school, it's not going to work because with autism, it's not the same. You don't have that cause and effect of like, I'm the adult, you should listen to what an adult says. Because again, an ADHD, you're going to question, no, it's just not fair. Like, I don't
Yeah, see,
understand that.
with my eldest, he's very set on right and wrong.
Mm,
There's black and white. There's no grey. So if that person's being disrespectful to a teacher, it's like you're not supposed to disrespect
mhm,
that teacher. You can't. And he gets angry and he'll kick off because of that. Caelan's a little bit like that. He's very much like it's not fair. Graham doesn't care.
mm,
It's like, have you seen that meme where they have like the first child and it's like all like, oh, lovely, lovely, lovely,
mm.
and then you get the middle child, like, oh, right, Dad. And then you've got Mr. Bean going, fuck you, because
Yeah,
he's like, that's my three children, 100,000%. Jamie's Mr. I do everything by the book, how I'm supposed to do it. Caelan's like, backlash, and Grace's like, I don't really give a shit. So yeah, it is very much like that in my house, and it is quite amusing to watch how they are. It is quite
it's
fun
great that
watching.
they've got such unique. It's another thing to bring on about unique individuals and treat them like individuals. Going back to that, because as you said, every single one of your children might have some shared diagnosis, but they're completely different.
Completely different.
And I think this is where we're going wrong in schools, trying to put stuff that's going to work for all kids and all.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're trying to blanket it, it's not going to work. And I think again,
Right.
this is what we're seeing coming through these white papers and that. And it's not. They're missing the point. It's going to take. The thing is, though, the argument is how much time it would take to person center it. Yes, it would. But the
Mm.
time you're spending fighting all these things and going back and the exhaustion of the emails and the parents and the knockback, surely it's just got to be worth some kind of conversation at least
It
about.
has to be, and I think with the whole white paper coming out and things like that, it's like you can't implement that to the children that are already in the system.
Mm,
This is something that's got to be phased in from reception. You
yeah.
can't go, "Oh, all kids from year 2 now, this is what we're doing." You can't do that.
No,
So I remember when it changing from statement of educational needs into EHCPs. So Jamie had a statement of educational
that's one of them.
needs,
Yeah.
and it kind of changed into EHCP. I think he was year 9. I'm pretty sure he was year 9 when it changed over to EHCPs. And it was very gradual and phased through. It wasn't like, bang, we're doing that from that year group, they're going to do that. They started with the younger ones and they slowly moved up. So yeah, I'm sure he was year 9 because yeah, it would have been year 9. And he was in a specialist school. He was doing foundation education. He wasn't doing GCSE levels or anything like that. He's only just doing his GCSEs now,
Mm,
which again is still a massive achievement for a boy that's so far behind.
mm,
But it's so different from his diagnosis when he got his diagnosis of his speech and language and verbal dyspraxia. So he was in a mainstream preschool, and then they took half the hours for him for that to then go to a specialist speech and language base within a local school. And they were incredible. They done the statement of educational needs. We didn't have anything to do with that.
mhm,
It wasn't anything that was it changed it probably was changed every year. I don't really remember it. It was quite a while ago. I
mm,
think it used to be, this is what we're doing. Here's a paper. Look for it. Do you agree with it? Let us know if they want any changes. But
mm,
it was all done pretty much what they want to do now with the white papers. Its statement of education needs was school based. It was evidenced by what was happening within that classroom. And then it kind of moved through with them. So when he reached school age, we had to choose a mainstream school. So we put our local one down and we had to wait to see if he got into a specialist base. And then we got notice that he did. He got into a specialist speech and language base within a mainstream school. And he thrived through that. He done so, so well. So he'd come out of lessons, out of the base into some mainstream lessons because he was quite good at maths.
mm,
So he'd go into the maths lessons and then he'd go back in for like his English and the interventions and all that sort of thing. But they closed them as he went through.
mm,
So yeah, so he went through the infants one. He was the last year group to go through, and then the juniors, last one to go through. And by the time he reached the end of juniors, the one in the senior school had already closed, so there was no option other than specialist provision for him. Then Caelan come along, and it was like he needs that same sort of interventions. He needs that speech and language. He was very behind verbal, like with his speech. And it's like, well, we're actually full for this year, but that's the last year intake. We're closing them. And I find it crazy how we're going from, you've closed all these bases, which was helping these children, and now you want to bring them back again. Why close them in the first place?
Yeah, I think newer people to the SEN world wouldn't really clock that, but yeah, it has. A
Yeah.
lot of these things that have been going in place and suggested were already in place
Yeah.
before, and
Yeah.
again, understatement times and stuff, and it's almost like, yeah, you're going back to somebody said there was no need, and now you're going back, oh, there is a need, but like it's been so long and 2 generations since that, like
Yeah.
people have kind of forgotten about that. But no, yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of the things have gone, these hubs and all of these things have been tried. I think most of them have been to some degree, I think, integrated, haven't they? But
Yeah.
it's
And the only thing that worries me with the white paper is the legal rights to parents. That's, and I
yeah,
do understand, like with it, almost like the statement sort of thing. LSPs, are they calling them?
yeah. So ISPs, was it?
Yeah,
ISPs.
ISPs. So yeah, like those that are bringing in are kind of like your statement, and there's like, from what I can gather, you've got like 3 stages of those before you then go something like that's more based like an EHCP for those that are more severe.
Tiered.
Yeah, which I do kind of understand that, and I do understand why they're doing that, because it's almost like they're using the graduated response, which is in place now. So your individual learning plans, so like IEPs, individual educational plans.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
But yeah, so Graham had those all going through. So it's almost like they're still following that same path, but stripping the right for parents to be able to apply for that higher level. You've got to wait for the schools. That's what it feels like for me.
yeah. I'd say that's pretty accurate. I think that's pretty
Yeah,
accurate way of reading it. I think. Yeah, exactly that. I think, and it's the concerns I have about it is the 4 tiers in the sense of who's going to diagnose the tiers to be.
yeah,
That
yeah,
means like how are
yeah,
you? I've never seen anything like it categorizing a condition to 4 different tiers. Maybe
yeah,
like maybe you've seen a couple, so 4 tiers. So what is and then, so who is the decision maker in that? How much experience have they got? Is that going on school reports or home reports? Because that's a massive difference.
it's got to be both.
Yeah, do
Has
you know
to
what I
be
mean?
both.
Does that mean the school report's going to weaken the home case? So if you've got really severe behaviour at home, like a tier 4 would easily be, and because
Yeah,
you can sort of cope at school for a few hours, does that then make them go to tier 2? Is this just a big? So the whole plan is to make the EHCPs effective, and if you're changing the needs so less people get it, you've already won.
yeah,
So you're already going to come. I already know you're going to come around in a few years. Go, yeah, it works. Well, yeah, it did
yeah,
work because no one's got the EHCP anymore.
yeah. There isn't
And
any. They're gone.
yeah, and another thing that they put in is this mediation, which I do agree with, but now you've let that open for so much, it's just a slowing down tool. So they put in mediation, they want to lean with mediation before they go into the.
We already have to do that. You have to have so before you can go to tribunal, you've got to have a mediation certificate. So what? There is no difference in
I
that.
think they'll force it through, mainly, yeah. So they're stopping people independently going straight to the appeal, I think.
Yeah,
And again, I see that as, yeah, that's maybe great, but it just slows down the process. So not only are you now going to put the criteria for EHCPs higher, you're now going to make the process even slower to even get to one if they're going to be funny about it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Another thing that I read through that as well, I said it's not all doom and gloom. Again, I go to the big positives afterwards, but another thing that I thought about it as well is when you're talking about levels and EHCPs and stuff like that, where does the training around each tier go? So are you going to train? Are you? It goes back to the categorizing it, isn't it? How are you categorizing it? Because I can't see anything you could do that for. Because you could have a
no,
non-verbal functioning person that could go do GCSEs, it just or whatever, like limits. You can't do. It doesn't work in the settings of what
doesn't work.
autism and ADHD and stuff like that does it? You can't
No,
categorize it.
you can't, because I mean, like Graham, like, okay, Caelan's educationally behind. He always has been. Jamie is educationally behind. Graham is exceeding educationally.
Yeah.
He is, so he's in year 3. He's working at almost year 4 level, and and I think half of his problem is he's bored. So
Yeah.
he's sitting there doing the work
Yeah.
that the children. He's bored. He finds it boring, and if it's something that he doesn't understand, he gets really frustrated and angry, and that's where a lot of it comes from, is boredom. So then it's like, so what category would he go into? Because he's academically
Yeah.
able, but the behaviours that come with that. So
And it's
it's
not a full
tricky.
assessment. It's never a full assessment, and that's the annoying thing, isn't it?
No,
Because you're never going to get the justice of having what you feel is a valid time to be able to see your child in all settings and see the
yeah,
behaviour and see all of this. It's always going to be rushed. There's always going to be someone that sees a different side to it on that day, and it's
yeah,
like then that's stuck forever. And it's like I bet that's going to be impossible. But again, the mainstream schools, this is why, again, you said about those feelings sorry for teachers again. I'm starting to, as much as I'm not coming back around, I do have my opinions on it, but I do see the struggle with teachers. And now, especially with mainstream schools, because I don't feel it's fair that they're going to go down, turn around and say to these people in category tier 1, 2, and 3 when they're asking for support, well, no, the mainstream should be able to provide it. That's what we set it up for. Mainstream have got all of that needs.
Yeah.
They've got the hub. They've got all of this. When we know full well that they're on their feet, they're drowning, basically.
Yeah.
Lots of things, like just recruitment anyway. The SEN needs in school. There's lots of political things going on with teachers and the head teachers as well. Things going on with schools and cuts and all of that. So it showed, and then to put all 3 tiers onto mainstream is insane, I think. And I think
It is insane.
To break a system.
They've also got to remember is like that all these schools getting their fundings cut because the birth rate's dropped.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only 9, like, so Graham's school is 2 class intake, 19 kids in his class.
Do
So
you think that's because we're having SEN kids more and we're thinking, no, I'm not doing that again?
maybe, I went 5 times, didn't I? So let's face it. Should have probably stopped at 1. I'd have been all right. But yeah, and I do think that yeah, it is kind of, that is part of it as well. Like, I know from their school is funding is an issue for them because the numbers have dropped. They can't hire those staff.
Yeah.
They can't. They can't do it. I mean, I think reception year that just started in September, there's only 1 class.
Yeah.
And that's not even full because the birth rate dropped because they brought in the 2-child rule, which I do think needed to be done at that point, needs to be lifted now. But the population's dropped.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is going to affect the schools. So you're then putting all this emphasis on them and you're going to give them this funding for this and that. But then where are you finding these educational psychologists and these occupational therapists that have got to step in and do that work?
And
Where are you finding them?
Yeah, that's time and training. Each one of them. If you're making them go through uni, again, and then you've got the issue. If a uni degree takes 3 to 4 years, that's statutory learning. So in 4 years' time, you're going to know what we know about ADHD and autism is going to evolve. So it's already outdated. The time you finish and gone into it to implement it, it's crazy. It needs to be regular. It needs, in my idea, the perfect training would be something that's regular. So maybe once a week as a top-up session, and then have like a main every time. Have like a main. Everyone goes in and talks about the specific things, autism, ADHD, and it's just constant. So that throughout the year, you're just getting top-ups and top-ups of information. So you're not expected to learn it all at the same time. You're just getting a bit that and the learned experience of what you're going in class and seeing.
Absolutely.
I think that's perfect. I don't think there's no point training these education psychologists or training all these professionals that are going to remain professional that are still not going to have a clue when it comes to what the kids and reality is like on the floor for parents. You're going to have that disconnect still.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you pay private.
Yeah,
that's the only thing. Unless you pay private.
And that's crazy as well, because then I've heard them turn around and go, yeah, well, don't take a private diagnosis, or the meds, you get stuck on meds, having to pay like hundreds of pounds because the GP's like, kind of, no, we're not doing shared care. And they're like, oh my God, it's so hard.
See, we haven't got meds for Graham yet, and he keeps, bless him, he's only 7. This is how clued up he is. He's like, so Mum, when am I going to get my meds for my ADHD? And I went, what do you mean? He goes, well, I really feel like I need them now. So he's recognising himself that he can't, he's struggling to regulate himself. And he wants those medications to help him because he knows it helps. I don't know where he's got that it helps. Maybe he just listens to conversations.
That's good.
But we can't get it. They won't give it to us. They won't give it to us. He doesn't, his scores aren't high enough to warrant medication at the moment.
Just who? Like, just what I mean about like who are these decision makers making these informers like?
Basically, what they said is they want him to be in a special. So he needs to be in a specialist provision for at least 6 to 8 months for us to then see how he settles with the right support to see if that medication is needed.
Yeah,
I've been at tribunal for 16 months and we've still not got him to a specialist provision. In fact, none of them will take him. So
no. And again, the specialist provision, what's that going to look like?
Well, I'm hoping he can go with his brother.
Yeah.
Really, really hoping he can go with his brother. So they originally offered him a place. The council didn't sign it off in time, and then the offer ran out. So they reassessed him in September, October, ready for court in November. And they came back and there's like, we don't have a peer group for him. We can't take him. And then obviously panic mode set in. I was literally at my granddad's bedside at that point in hospital, and I was like, oh, I don't need this today. Got through all of that, found somewhere else, and it's just been to and fro and to and fro, and it's been really hard work. But they're now back on the table. So the head teacher's like, look, in the future, we will be able to. So I contacted her and I went, what about September 2026? And she's like, let's have a chat.
Mm.
So they've come back. So he's going in next Friday for assessment day, but this time he's going in with other children rather than putting him into a class with the children that are already there.
That's good.
They'll be
Yeah.
moving in. So this is almost like a new peer group, and how
Mm.
these 3 children will react together. He's well excited. He can't
That's,
wait. Yeah.
and I
So
mean,
they are really good. And they're like, the problem that they had is, so they have like a classroom based one and they have a nurture group.
mhm,
He's too intelligent for the nurture group, but
mm,
his behaviours aren't calm enough for the
yeah.
club. Yeah. So he's that in betweeny. So they're just trying to see what they can do.
That's
So
good, yeah. And
just,
it, like I was saying, the right setting, and especially settings, it does change a kid's life. It changes the whole
yeah,
family's life, doesn't it? That's another
yeah,
thing about the white papers, that they're restricting. Well, they're going to basically put lots of guidance in with the private education, isn't they? So basically,
yeah,
anyone that's doing alternative provisions that's not part of the council is going to then be told how to do it. And I don't know how strict they're going to be. And also they're going to restrict the amount of money, which I know that some of them take the mick. But let's not be honest. If you want to have an effective, all-round school that includes everybody, neurotypical and all of the things, it costs money.
it costs
These schools
money.
have got the best of the thing because it costs money. Yes, maybe again, but the reality is, if you're trying to then cheap your way through it, you're going to have the same issues. Like
You're gonna, yeah.
you're going to fall flat on your face because it
And
takes a lot of money.
the other problem is those schools aren't there. So when it comes to Kalen, so we were going through appeal just for school placement for Kalen, for Southlands where he is. So when we were going through that, it was phase transfer review as well.
Mm.
So when they done the consults for this phase transfer review, they went to every single mainstream school in our local area and the 2 surrounding areas, and every single specialist provision within those areas. And only we had the school that we wanted, parental preference, and one other that offered an assessment. So I took him in for an assessment on that day, and they were like, no, because he'd been in mainstream school for so long, he didn't fit in that pocket,
Mm.
which I understood the
Mm.
severity. So the only school on the table was the school that we wanted. But that took months, and it's like in a tribunal for you to reach out to everyone and make that decision.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it's expensive.
Mm.
It's probably the top end in the area price range, I think. I think we're well over £100,000 a year.
Mm.
But if those, like, from what I can see with the white paper, I do believe that some of the things that they're talking about implementing into whether it works or not is another story. But for Graham and Kaylin, if those therapies and stuff was within that mainstream school when they started reception and working through, would they have needed that?
It is, yeah. And if you get it right and you get it really right, it might cost a lot of money to set it up, but you're going to save yourself
Mm.
millions in the future
Yep.
because you're not going to have the issues, not going to have just even a challenging behaviour. I think people misunderstand challenging behaviour. That's the end point. Like you're
Yep.
not. That's not the kid's got challenging behaviour. That's the condition. That's the kid's been failed and he's at his point, and now they're acting out in that way that's so extreme. So
Yep.
it's a lot of failings before you got that point. If you got
Yep.
there before proactively, you wouldn't have got to that point. So these kids wouldn't have arrived to get to that point of violence or attacking people or getting to the
Yeah.
point of being really anxious. It's because you would have already filled it out and they'd have felt welcome. They'd have felt okay, not felt like they was the wrong person to be around.
Yeah. And I do think if Graham had those interventions from when he started, like even in the preschool going into reception, I think if they had given him the tools to be able to manage and understand, like, he would be a mainstream school and thriving. I
Yeah.
do believe that. I do believe, because I never wanted specialists for him
Mm.
because of how bright he is. There was a reason why I sat him in front of David Attenborough. David
Mm.
Attenborough was a baby because he, like, anything with animals and aquatics and anything, like, he is like, he's a brain box. He's an
Mm.
absolute brain box. The only thing that I've always found really quite fascinating with Kaylin is, like, Kaylin was a massive masker in school, like massive masker, but you could still see those autism traits. How did he manage to hide the ADHD from school and home until he turned 11? Like, and when I actually
Mm.
think about that, and I think back about how much damage that would have done to his mental health, there's no wonder the kid had suicidal thoughts, didn't want to be here, self-harmed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's no wonder he's had emotional based school avoidance. Like, and when I actually look back and I think, wow,
Mm.
you hid that not only from me, but you hid that from school. It's no wonder you crashed so young,
Yeah.
and it's really sad. It is really sad. So I really hope that the things that they bring in and implement enable these children to manage these and
Mm.
without hiding it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and that's the key thing, because there's far too many that are going through it. Far too many.
Yeah.
We don't
There is.
want our kids on antidepressants and medicated for all. We don't want that. We don't
No.
want that at all. Um,
I can't believe
It's
how many there is. I can't
so
believe
many.
that that's like part of the role that I kind of do now is that I listen to so many families that have kids that have had self-harms or something, and through it's just from the misdiagnosis, no
Yep,
diagnosis, waiting for
yep,
a diagnosis. It's all around SEN and around the diagnosis thing. And by the point that they get seen or they get heard or they get even, oh, maybe they've got this, they're at crisis. It's too late. You've got to go through the
it's too
mental
late.
health now to get there. And it's
Yep,
and I think ultimately, as you said about you hope that the right person's going to be going forward, I think we're talking about it, and that's the shift that we're missing.
yep,
Like, as much as what they're planning, they probably might get it wrong, they might do this. They've had enough effort to know they had to make a big reform and a big change, and that's massive because before that they would have refused to be believing it as an issue.
yeah,
Like, so I think people, as much as there is a lot of these, like they're going to do this, they're going to do this, and it is a lot in the future and stuff like that. We're missing the point that the government, we're putting pressure on the government, and the government are
yeah,
having to act in our response. That is where we want to be. And the more that we keep on doing this and they're going back and they're doing this and they're going back, we're kind of, we're in the door. Well, we wasn't in
yeah,
the door before. And that white paper's kind of opened the door. So
yeah.
I think that
They
that's,
will hear. They will
yeah.
hear it. They will hear everyone, and I think that is the key point to all of it, is that they will hear anyone. The only thing that I think that needs to be looked at in a massive way is holding local authorities accountable. I think that is the biggest, which I know they have kind of touched on that, but it's the lies, it's the things that they do, and you're
Mhm.
like, and it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating. Even like when we were on call with a judge. I probably shouldn't be talking about this, but was on the call with a judge for Graham's appeal. Was it last week, the week before? And so on the Monday, the local authority solicitors issued their position statement to where
Mhm.
they're at and what schools have consulted, which ones have come back, and like all where they are in their kind of thing. So we've come on the call, and the judge has spoken to the local authority, and she said something completely different. And my solicitor's like, "Whoa, hang on a minute.
Mhm.
So if they've said that, why haven't we received that? And if they've said this, why haven't we?" And it's that type of thing. And it's even like we were going through the paperwork just before we were due in court in November, and they'd included, so they've got a school that they want Graham to go to. It's a
Mhm.
very behaviour based school, and I'm saying that is not the right school for him. It's not behaviour, it's unmet needs. And
Mhm.
they're saying, no, it's behaviour. So we had a mass referral for Kaylin a few years ago, and this mass referral was like based on all the children like they do, and you have like your team around the family meeting and all that sort of stuff. We were all signed off and everything was fine. But in that report, there's one statement from the safeguarding lead, and it said about Graham, and it said, "We feel mum concentrates more on his sen, and she doesn't put enough boundaries in place at home."
Oh God, that chestnut.
And I was like, wow, here's the thing. Like, and I contacted my solicitor and I was like, they can't use that paperwork. They can't use that paperwork is based on a mass referral for a completely different child.
Mhm.
They cannot use that paperwork. And she hit the roof and it got removed. But it's just that one statement. And I was like, hang on a minute. I have boundaries at home, so we don't get those behaviors. He wouldn't dream of putting his hands around my throat. Absolutely not. Who needs boundaries?
Mhm.
Because yeah, and it kind of really hit me
It's
hard.
a not, yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. And let's take teachers at the firing line because I've given them enough shit. But like head teachers upwards and the government, right? The local authorities, they do not, you don't get to hold them accountable for nothing. You don't. You have to go
Yeah,
through it. And it's so hard to get. I mean, I can't even hear of like a case that I could think of that someone's managed to get them for the stuff they said. I've heard awful things that have happened. I've seen sales reports where they've written awful things, used people's like unalive children as a reason for like holding up. It's just horrible the tactics they use.
yeah,
And even seeing it myself personally for my son, and then knowing that when I went to go for the complaints and that you're not going to get anyone to get accountable for it. The time
no,
that you go all the way up, they just knock you back. Then the half of the complaint system, they're backing themselves anyway because they're allowed to. And then
yeah,
like even the way up to Lado, that they're allowed to then they do the investigation 3 times. You've done the same investigation and come up with no findings. Funny that. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? And it's like then you go to local authority, and then again, that's not. It just gets passed on to the time. If you ever get to the point of DFE, you're changing a policy, not the person or holding it accountable, the person who done that to you or made these things. And it's almost like that's the arrogance that I see, and that's why they're able
Yeah,
to do it because they haven't been pulled up on it. They don't get pulled up on it, and they get more and more confident.
I even had my case officer. I don't really. I had my case officer just before we were coming up to November court, and I was literally on the phone to her every single day, pretty much. She's like, "By the end of this week, I'll be on your Christmas card list," and I went, "You won't be, because hopefully by the end of this week, I won't have to deal deal with you anymore. And it was just the blatant. And I get she was trying to have a laugh and a joke, but when you've got a mum on the phone that's stressing
Yes,
over everything
commonplace.
for court by the Friday, and you're still slowing on everything you're supposed to be doing, that's not the type of comment you should be
Yeah.
having. I couldn't believe it. I come off the phone like, I can't believe she just said that to me. And I'm sure she just meant it lightheartedly to have a joking way, but at the time it didn't come across like that.
It's like, it is, isn't it? I feel sorry for her as well, because sometimes you're like, oh, why have you said that? Like,
Yeah, she
and it's
probably
hard
thought
to,
afterwards, "What did I say that for?" I mean,
yeah.
we've had some lovely conversations since, so it's just like that one comment is just
Mm.
gonna stick in my head now. Yeah, 'cause clearly I'm undiagnosed autism and
Yeah.
ADHD myself, and it's like it's gonna stick there forever. Yeah, and it's hard.
It is. We go through it, don't we? I mean, we just,
Mm,
I didn't realise that I'm new to that world. I mean, I heard about it for ages because I was doing it and hearing parents say about what was happening to the schools. And I kind of naively thought a lot of schools are bad, but not my boys' school. Not
yeah,
everyone around here. I don't know any schools that are like that. And
yeah,
that was the biggest lie I've ever seen in my life, because then
it's
since
every
we were
school.
Calvin, I've heard other schools in the local area. I've heard, yeah, and just, it's not stopped. And it's just like everywhere. And when you're backing this up, this isn't just like, a lot of these are backed with SARS. These are not even me, the people stretching or misinterpreting. These are emails that have been sent. These are things that you can see on paper.
Yeah,
The things that they're showing me, and you're like, I can't believe it. And you can, and that worries me, because these are the things that they're publicly putting on things. What are they saying behind your back? What are they
yeah.
saying, and what are they doing off the
What's
record?
not in an email that they have to
Yeah.
produce to you, yeah. And now it's like, because a lot more and more, so I had a SARS for Kaylin. It's quite shocking, some of the stuff. Yeah, there was one email that should have been redacted, but you could still see through, and I was like,
Horrible.
wow. And it's like, now they're clued up on it. They're clued up on it. So now they know that they're not to send it in an email. We want to have that conversation. They know. So now though, it's almost like you're not going to find those type of things because they're going to hide it. Yeah,
Yeah, because they'll do it deliberately, and what they'll do is probably do
yeah,
it. What do you know? What, face to face is where they cripple you, because if they're not
yeah,
recording the notes and it's just you and them in that meeting, and they say something off pocket, they just say something off pocket, and you
yeah,
just have to deal with it. And then that's when you get mad, and then they go, "You need to calm down." You're like, "Calm down! You just literally told me Kim was lies to my face." Like you don't like.
yeah,
I mean, it's like, I think sometimes they can play on that, and I think when you see about how volatile we can be going in as parents, it's not hard to push the button one time, and that overshadows the whole meeting, and then that's
yeah.
it. We're not getting nowhere because we're unreasonable. Like, and
It's
it's
very
almost like they
reasonable.
set us up for that for months before. It's I've said this before. It's like everything about domestic abuse without the physical side.
Yeah.
Like, it's coercive control, it's all sorts of stuff. Look, I mean, it's gaslighting, it's all sorts of stuff. Like, they turn the whole playground against you. They'll lie. They're like,
Oh, it's
that's what
awful.
we're talking about. Like, it's to make you look mad, to question yourself. It's awful. It really
I used to
is.
dread picking Graham up. I'd literally stand there waiting for the door to open when he was in his mainstream class, just like, oh God. And sometimes I'd walk around the corner and I'd look in the classroom empty except for him. And I'm just like, oh God, they clearly had to evacuate the classroom for him today.
Oh,
And all the
no.
parents are then looking at me and I'm just like, oh,
It's horrible, isn't it?
it's
Yeah.
so, oh, I hate it. I hate it. I hated it. And yeah, and that's one thing that really I used to hate walking into that playground
Uh,
every day, not knowing what I was walking into. I'd say 3 out of the 5 days a week, the teacher would come over and speak to me, and you can almost see all the parents going, like, whispering, "He's at it again," you know? And it wasn't until, like, a couple of them actually come to speak to me, and when they've realised that their children have SEN, and I was like, "Yeah, this is basically what's been happening." "Oh, we didn't realise that." "No, because none of you come and talk to me."
yeah. They
I'm
second
almost They almost look at me like I'm scary, and I'm like,
guess.
"Come and talk to me." Like, I'll be quite open and honest, and I'll help any one of you with anything that you need
Yeah.
help with. And a lot of people around me will say, like, I've had someone email me today, message me today and be like, "Oh, Vicky, how do I do this?" And it's
Mm.
like, "I'll get back to you in a bit. Let me see what I can find out." You know, and that's kind of like the way I am, and I'm always approachable. So it's quite hurtful when you hear the gossip and you
Mm.
hear what people are saying in the playground, and
Yeah.
it gets back to you, and you're like, "Why? Just mess."
I can only imagine the absolute hate I am getting at the moment through schools. And I mean, I saw that going into the second school for the visit for Calvin, that it was going across head teachers now, that they just don't want anything to do with me. And some of the
Oh,
comments, and even just the fact I'm on social media is probably pissed off half of where I'm from anyway.
yeah,
It's just,
yeah,
and it
probably,
is, isn't it? It's just, and you feel it. You do feel it. You might not know what to say, but you feel it. You feel the shift. You feel that people's attitudes. You feel that you can see what they're kind of getting at before without being paranoid about it. Like, but you do, because things do change, and especially when you've got a kid with same with behaviour in school, it change very quickly. And this goes on to the next point: teachers. Please stop pulling us up in the playground. There is no need for it, and it's so disrespectful. It really is.
just ring me before I pick
Yeah,
him up.
say to me after, pull aside, say at the end of the class, pull me into the classroom and say it. Don't, because it gives, and as you said, that's the problem. You're saying half-right, the kids have got their own version, something might have happened. Instead of it being in a professional setting where you can calm down, say it safely, and I think it should be said then, if it's about your kids' behaviour, you're saying it in front of kids at the playground, you're saying it in front of the teachers, you're every day, you're coming out, so anything that's happening in school, I'm thinking it's definitely your kid. Like,
Yeah.
you're
I
putting
remember one day, like,
it.
I'd recently been in a car accident, and I was like, I couldn't walk very well. I had like really bad pains down one side. I was going through physio, and I've gone to pick him up, and something must have happened that day, because like they went to come and speak to me. She said something to me, and he had gone. And I've turned around like, where's he gone? So I'm trying to walk around. I hadn't even picked my daughter up yet, and I'm walking around trying to find him, and he'd managed to run all the way around the school, out the gate, and was halfway home. And I couldn't run after him because I could just about walk. The poor deputy head teacher had to run after him. She chased him up the road and managed to bring him back. And it's like, and that's why you need to ring me before the end of the day, because he's a bolter. And if he's got,
That's it. That's a good, that's another good point as well, because you don't know, you need to be aware of what kind of child you're picking up, but you can be as safe as you can. If you know that's likely, you'll take precautions. If you're walking in blind and you're like, I was going to have a good day today, he comes out raging or had a horrible day, it's kind of too late. And
I've got to drag him back in to go pick up my daughter because I've left her there.
yeah,
And I'm like,
it does. I know it's quick. I know it's convenient. I know it's just off shot, but it's so damaging. It's just,
it is.
It's just for the extra 5 minutes, or just doing it, or sending it an email, or saying, "Don't worry, we had a bad day today, but I'll send it in an email," or I'll give you a call when everyone's gone. Like what? It's making a rod for your own back doing that in the playgrounds. It's really, really hard to sympathise when they're doing that out public, because everyone gets caught in that, and I think that's very just notorious that some things you do at the playgrounds, isn't it? And that's the start of the segregation. It just goes down from there. Like,
and it does. And you look around and you can see those SEND parents, and you can see they're tearing their hair out and they look knackered and they don't know what they're doing from one day to the next.
Yeah.
And you see it in the playgrounds all the time. And it's heartbreaking. It literally does break my heart when I see them like that. I'm just like, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there 3 times. I get it. And I do find it quite frustrating when that stigma's on you. It's hard. It's hard.
It is.
There's one thing that I've over the last few years. When Caelan was out of school, and it was really bad. I was in a really bad place myself, and it sent me spiraling. And it's something my stepmom said to me. She's no longer with us, unfortunately. And she said to me, "What other people are saying about you is none of your business." And that to me is like, yeah, you're right. You're right. What other people are saying about you is none of your business. Leave them to it. It doesn't matter. And the whole let them thing as well. It's like, let them. That kind of, to me, just like, yeah. And that was kind of like a turning point for me of, I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Ultimately, you do get that. I mean, I'm glad I got that as well. As I said, 'cause I would never be able to do anything on social media if I had that kind of thought process, because even me, I said, I cheat because I don't look at comments very often if it goes viral, like, so and that's why, because you're going to take personal offence to it, and you can't, and you know that if they're saying it about that person, they're saying it about you too, and if they're saying it about your other kid or people in, and it's just, but at the end of the day, it wastes so much energy of the what if they're saying this, and then you change your whole mannerisms towards that, or to fit it in, or
you should have to.
It takes so much, doesn't it? Instead of just saying I don't care, like, or just saying if it really means it will come into my face. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if like, let's confirm it with facts. Like, use it like a jury. Like, if
it's that much of an issue for you, here I am. Yeah. And that's kind of the way I look at it now. It's like, I'm over here. You know where I am. Got my number. You know where I live.
I would say, though, positively, and I think it's nice to kind of end on it as well on that, it is the community, as much as it has been segregated in the playground and stuff like that, it has pushed us all closer together. And what I have seen, other than the crisis and the self-harm and all the other horrible things that have come out of the last year, is the community is forming, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and people are getting across, and people are loving sharing experiences. And again, that's powerful, because it's no choice. The other parents have to hear it. And then eventually, what's nice about that is when you've got parents that are growing up and then get the diagnosis, they can fit into these, where we had to kind of work out where we stand, and maybe we'll get the online Facebook static group where there's so many advocates now. There's so many, like, places, like, it's that you can talk about it freely, and there is places you can talk about it freely now, and I think that is powerful. And hopefully then, when we realise that there's 4 parents each year that are going through this crisis with the kids, and not just the one, And, you know, that kind of, even then it's 4 against the rest of the, it's even better in numbers, isn't it? And it's been, and then,
Yeah.
you know, with time, them numbers will increase and we have
And
more.
we get it. So when we're like with other some mums, it's like, oh, do you know what? We should really get, like, let's go meet for a coffee. And if they go, can't do it, like, I just can't even, my brain can't even go there today. You get it and you
You get
understand,
it,
like,
yeah.
that's right, no worries. And like, there's the expectation changes then on life, doesn't it? And
It's so freeing being
yeah,
able to people, even with like, I get out for ADHD and I love people with ADHD, like when I'm late.
I'm always late.
Even better when they're later than me. Love it. Because then I'm like, oh, I don't feel bad. But it's like, you understand it's not deliberate because some people take that so personal. Oh, you didn't care about my time to do this. No, I honestly, I've got 1,000 things
Can't help
going
it.
on. I've got 10 tabs open. I'm trying to run it over everything last minute. Like, it's not personal. Again, it probably could be down to bad planning, some of it, yes. But like, it's so hard with the ADHD
It
and all the
is.
stuff to be effective, to be responsive, to be doing videos, to all of that. Do you know what I mean? It's
It's
quite,
a lot.
yeah,
You
it's
need
a lot.
lists. If you don't write a list, it ain't getting
That's
done.
it. That's it. That's it.
You don't write a list. One of my husband's friends, he's from the Channel Islands, and when we were living over there, and we had Jamie, and they used to say, if Pete's coming on his own, he'd be 10 minutes early. If he's coming with Vicky, he'd be at least half an hour late.
That's
And
it.
that's just normal. It's like, I could be ready, but we'll still be half an hour late.
No, that's it. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I think I've picked it up from my son what I do. I don't like waiting around to the point I'd like to get ready the last possible moment, but it doesn't make practical sense. It's almost like I get so stressed. I think it's stress. I think I underestimated that it is my choice, and that some of this is
Yeah,
because I get so like kind of like flappy around having to get everything organised at the same minute and doing this and doing that, and then I get stressed
yeah.
out. But that makes me late, even if I'm half an
Makes it
hour
even
early.
worse. Yeah, makes it even worse. It really does. It makes it worse. And that's what I find, like, with the boys, like, 'cause I have to drop to 2 different places in the morning. I drop 2 of them to college and then take my son. And it's like, we have to leave by 7:45. We have to leave by 7:45. We have to leave by quarter. We never leave at 7:45.
I know the amount of times I'm so strict with my son about the morning times, about what time he gets up and gets ready, and the amount of times then I make us late.
Yeah, that was me this morning. They're all ready. They're all stood there ready. I'm not. And I'm like,
And I know he started giving it to me now, Barry, as well. Like, just look at me, like, really, really. Like, I'm
yeah.
like, I feel so guilty already because I'm held responsible for my life.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm the adult. I'm supposed to
yeah,
be the
it's
one
not
that's,
old
yeah,
one how he sees it, but like the 4-year-old, the 4 and 5-year-old, it doesn't really matter because they don't really understand that. The
yeah,
10-year-old knows exactly that you're like, you just gave me
exactly.
this much, that you've got me up, you've had to go at me because I've tried to kick back on something, and now we're late because of you.
Yeah.
Like,
It's your fault. Yeah, and it is. It does make me laugh. It does make me laugh every day, and it's like I'm the last one out, or
yeah.
I've forgotten something and I have to come back in, and they're like, "No." Brilliant.
But no, I think,
Brilliant.
yeah, as I said, a lot of times the vehicle goes in, there's many anything, but I think that's been a brilliant conversation. I
Yeah,
think it's been great to speak to you, and it's been long overdue.
thank you.
Now we've done
Yes,
one,
we
I'll
delayed
be
it.
happy to do more anyway, like, because I think it's great, and I think it's just the community. I think just the fact that we're able to have conversations like this, I don't think
Yeah,
people would be able to 2 years ago. Like, I think just the fact it's out there, people are trusting that people are got each other's backs, and we can have these conversations, people can understand it, it's going to help people at the same time. I think it's amazing.
yeah, exactly. I think that's the key, isn't it? And making people understand, like, how that they're not alone, and
Yeah.
we're feeling like this too. I think it's really important.
It is, yeah, it is, and it's just again, it's just a different way of life that I think more people are
Mm.
going to come around to, and I think eventually it's going to genetically. Let's go. No, that's right. I would say I had a podcast and Calvin broke his hand in the middle of the podcast.
Oh yeah, I did see.
Yeah, so, I
And
know,
you
I was
left that
worried.
little bit in there, didn't you? It's
Yeah,
like, no,
and
bless
that's what I
him.
mean. Things happen. Dogs, kids. It always
Yeah,
happens. Always. Oh, it's more rare that I get one that hasn't got anything like that in there. But
yeah.
yeah,
We nearly made it. We
that's
nearly.
it. But no, yeah, I think, yeah, it's been brilliant speaking to you. And yeah, I think it's been great having you as a member and speaking to you along the last year and that. So and yeah, I'd be happy to do more. And thank you for sharing your
Definitely.
story and everything that you've gone through to get to where you are now.
You're welcome. I think, yeah. Still got a long road, but we'll get there.
We'll get
We'll
there,
have to
as I
do
said.
another one in like 6 months' time and see how different it is then.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. How exhausted we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
See how knackered I am after court.
That's it.
Lovely.